Good evening and welcome everyone to Practice Makes Perfect League. A brand new show on these airwaves and very much different than what you guys are used to on Sunday nights. On Sunday nights, we're normally crowning a champion. We are normally following a Perfect League World Series. And that is not the case tonight because there isn't a perfect league. So we've got a brand new show for you. But the spirit from which we are doing this show in this time slot is unchanged. So as we did our Perfect League broadcast in weeks past, the objective was always the same. Show what's happening at the highest level, but contextualize that. Who are the players that high-level teams are using? How are those players performing? From a data-driven perspective, how can we estimate what's going to happen in this matchup or that matchup? And that's exactly what we're going to be doing tonight as well. And so we'll be tracking some of the data that has already come out of main leagues. We'll be looking at the players. We'll be looking at the pitchers. We'll be looking at the teams. We'll be looking at the high watermarks that we've seen set. And at the same time, we will be trying to do the same thing. So help you guys inform the direction of your team. You guys are all building your teams out there at various different levels. You have various objectives, various goals you want to get to, and there's always a best next step. And so if our little broadcast here tonight can help you with what your best next step is, then I'm going to consider that a win. We also need to try our best to understand what the changes were from year over year. So we know that the game engine itself had some tweaks to it. We know that it's possible that power players might play up this year. It's possible that high BABIP guys might play down. But until we see what happens between the lines, between the virtual lines, we won't really be able to estimate what's going on there in order to inform our decisions and direction going forward. So that's what we're going to do tonight. It's going to be much lower key than we normally are on Sundays. Normally we have a very rigid schedule. We've got to get through each sim of the World Series. We are on a time crunch. There's not as much interaction possible through the chat because I'm having to watch the screen and narrate what I'm seeing there. But I absolutely anticipate for this time period between now and when we have a perfect league that this broadcast is very much going to be a two-way street in terms of communication. So as you have questions, pop them in the chat. As you notice things, feel free to call it out, and we'll have some fun here. I'm expecting this to be something that is a good use of our time on Sunday nights and hopefully helps you guys make some decisions as you look at building what your team will be for the coming week. So hello to everyone in the chat. I see a lot of the familiar faces there. And thank you for spending your Sunday night with me. Zozu using the meta emote. Gotta love that. I'll pop it up there for you.
Attention, it's meta.
All right. So the first thing I wanted to do tonight actually is not core to the objective. The first thing I wanted to do is just provide my initial thoughts on the game. I haven't really done that on any stream that I've been on to this point. If you don't know, you can catch me on Thursdays right after Chris. But just to share a couple of thoughts, and honestly, my feedback is almost all positive at this point. The quality of life changes to the managed cards screen to so many different areas are just absolutely off the charts and have made the launch of this game so seamless and so beautiful. And the ability for someone like me who loves to extract out data and take a look at things 7 ways, it's only grown exponentially since last game version. So that's all incredible. The new sliders, I think it's going to take a lot more time to figure out how to master those sliders, but that they exist. And by sliders, I mean additional team strategies and additional player strategies. It's absolutely incredible. So many things that we've been asking for and that I have no doubt we can make really good use of are in the game now. And so I can't wait to figure out exactly how I want to use those and then see how the AI we'll be incorporating those intentions out on the playing field. So super cool there. And then the last thing I'll call out as being just really cool is Perfect Draft. So Perfect Draft is an inspired idea, and they've been very clear that it's a 1.0 version that's out right now. But for a 1.0 version, it's absolutely a blast to draft your team, to navigate the process of picking your perfect card, picking your diamond cards, your gold cards, your silver cards, and trying to end up with a team that can compete with those teams around it. And time permitting, what I'd love to do to finish out this stream is to collectively do a perfect draft together. Have my data on the right side of the screen to suggest which cards we might want to use, and then have you guys in the chat directing me. So very cool. And I mean, given that it is a 1.0, who knows where it's going to go in the future. But given that this is the starting point, I have a ton of optimism and hope for the game mode. You got it, Longhorn. My hand in your hand, doing a perfect draft. What better thing could we do on a Sunday night? Dishnet not having a ton of success early on, it sounds like. You and me both, as we'll see once we get to that point of the stream. All right, perfect. So let's jump in. Let's start looking at some things. And the first things that we're going to look at here, and I'll paint out the flow of how we'll navigate the topics tonight. We'll first look at my team, how my team did this week, the way that I went about building my team, and then we'll go position by position and see where I deviate from where the data is suggesting that I move to. And we'll do that for hitters, and we'll do that through pitchers. And then perhaps over the course of the stream, we'll make some changes. And maybe we'll decide that one of the decisions that I made coming into this week is not the decision that I want to live with into next week. And then once we're done with that, we will draft our perfect draft team. All right, so as you see on your screen, the Nomads kicked it off in style this week. You can also see that I've ditched the Cubs logo. The Cubs logo, which didn't make any sense for a team called the Naperville Nomads. I've now got a Brewers mock-up. I have another couple options as well. I've been having a very, very hard time getting my logo to stick. But who knows, maybe this in-between weeks moment is the perfect time to try again. Big Red Fury got smashed in his Iron Level series. Oh, Stanley Cup Chaser. Favorite perfect draft moment is when he agonizes between two cards, and then the next round sees a near clone of the one you picked. Yep, I've been there. Been there, done that. All right, so Nomads. We win the World Series. We do so via a 3-0 division series, a 4-1 semis, and then a 4-2 World Series. Feeling pretty darn good about it. You definitely want to kick off the season in style. You know, last year as I was rising through the ranks, I think I only picked up 2 titles on the way to Diamond. And then once I got to Diamond, I got mixed up with DLL, and overall was not a title-filled year for me or for the Naperville Nomads. So it's good to get one to hang up in the rafters as this season is just getting started. And let's take a look at the build. So you can see my versus right and my versus left lineup. Actually, you can't see it because my head's in the way. So maybe what I've got to do here. This is probably a better way. Yeah, we'll show it the graphical way. All right, so we'll start with my versus right lineup. I've got Lefty O'Doul leading off. And this is a card that once I saw it, I really, really wanted it to be a platoon player for me. If you look at this versus right profile, the contact is off the charts, probably one of the highest cards in the game. The avoid case is really great, and then the power is up there. And so I was thinking, hey, if power is returning to prominence here, this could be a card that was good last year and would be even better this year. And Lefty O'Doul had a pretty darn good season for me as a leadoff hitter versus right-hand starting pitching. You see with the 306 average, the 389 OBP, So not a traditional leadoff hitter in the sense that he's not much of a base runner, but he is getting on base a ton in addition to popping 24 balls over the fence. So very happy with Lefty O'Doul, a mid-level diamond that you can stick in a corner of your outfield. Now, Hack Wilson was actually a late add for me. As you see, I had no stats for Hack Wilson in the regular season. When I redeemed my Hack Wilson from the live mission, I actually sold it. But heading into the playoffs, I wasn't enamored with my current situation, and I was seeing what other Hack Wilsons were doing, and I decided to buy back in. And so I bought Hack Wilson for the playoff run, and look at what he did in the playoffs. His final triple slash line was 340, 468, 760. Good for a World Series MVP. And bottom of the sixth, asking if this is a free-to-play or if there's some coin in here. There's definitely some coin in here, my friend. You know, last year, I was a $5 team until late in the summer. And this year, I decided that money early can go further than money late. And so I jumped in on day one. Yeah, so Tech 15's talking about Ginger Beaumont. And Ginger is actually who I had at center field all season long. So here was my Ginger Beaumont card. He was playing center field up until the moment I bought Hack Wilson. And look at this profile versus right. This absolutely looks like a card that would have been highly desirable in PT21 versus right as a platoon outfielder. He's a center fielder only, so you can't move him into either corner. So it's center field or DH. And he had a good season. And I think that this is a card that's actually going to get better as the game cycle goes, as the cards surrounding you, the average quality of card raises within a league. I think Ginger Beaumont's going to hold on, whereas some of these other cards are going to fall back. But for the time being, I think that Hack Wilson is better than Ginger Beaumont, although I do see that likely changing later on in the game cycle. So Beaumont wasn't bad for me by any stretch, and he is a decent base runner. So he popped 13 homers for me in a platoon deployment, 28 stolen bases, 864 on the OPS. It's just what I was seeing from Hack Wilson was just that much stronger. So I made the swap for the playoffs, and I'm happy to have done so. And Enos Slaughter and right. Enos Slaughter, incredible. Must-have card. This is one of the live SEs, one of the toppers. OPS over 1 for me in Rookie League. Look at this, 16 triples to go along with 37 doubles, 24 home runs. So what you're seeing play out there is that extraordinary gap power, in which gap power is a category that dictates how often your singles turn into doubles or triples, how often your singles turn into extra base hits, and he's got incredible gap power to go with very good over the fence power, and so that's why you see just an abundance of extra base hits from Enos Slaughter, and you see a slugging percentage over 600. Sox fan 66 asking if I'm not worried about Hack's defense in center. Yes, I'm extremely worried about Hack's defense in center. To be honest, I'm worried about Ginger Beaumont's defense in center. I don't think either one of them stand the test of time, but for where we are right now, for the quality of leagues, I think that you're better off with the big bat and taking the hit on the glove, at least from a perfect point generation perspective, and then even perhaps from a competitive perspective, because Hack Wilson is going to produce just an unbelievable triple slash line at OPS that is likely going to out-hit all of the balls that he doesn't get to. Tech 15, yep, I did jack my park factors for max offense. Definitely did that. Let's see what other questions are popping in here. When you buy perfect points, is it better to buy packs or to use the perfect points to buy players in the auction house? And so most people would tell you that being surgical with your perfect points and buying the card that you need within the auction house is going to be better than packs, and I don't think they're wrong by any stretch of the imagination. However, early on in game cycle, Packs have an EV higher than they're going to have later on in the game cycle because you still have a pretty strong live card market. So while I still agree that you're better off targeting the cards that you want with your perfect points as opposed to buying packs. Ooh, look at that, a Twitch drop. While you're better off, I still think you're better off buying the cards that you want there. It's not as stark as it will be later on in the game cycle. Come summertime, you're going to be way better off buying that card in the auction house, whereas now it's probably only slightly so. Is there any doubt that Snaggle's going to run the table all the way to the first Perfect League trophy? Yeah, significant doubt. Significant doubt. All right, moving on. Let's see what makes up the rest of this team. Oh, third base. This is where I got super duper lucky this week. So I pulled Mr. Al Rosen out of a pack, and I was dumb enough to actually list it on the auction house. And then my buddy Kidney said, "Hey, what are you doing? This card's one of the best cards in the game. Get that in your lineup and get it off the auction house." Luckily, nobody bought it. And for the trail run of this season, Al Rosen was absolutely on fire. OPS of 1.178, 15 homers in only 43 games. So absolutely incredible. Best pull I've had so far in the game cycle, no doubt. Al Rosen, a card that hits both ways, plays every day at third base. Plays pretty good defense too. And then at shortstop, I've got Alan Trammell, another one of your live toppers. And look at the incredible production I got out of Alan Trammell. You see a lot of red here, and red stands for really good things. You see a WAR approaching 10, OBP of 448, get out of town, a 27 home run, 23 stolen base season. Absolutely incredible production out of Alan Trammell. You see that the back of card ratings really are dominant versus left and strong versus right. And early on in the game cycle, he's going to be producing in everyday play, just like you see here. Moving from short to second base, DJ LeMahieu. Now, this is a card that's extremely versatile. Look at these ratings here. So you've got infield range that's pretty good. He's not going to win a gold glove at second, but he's not going to embarrass himself out there. He's got outfield range that's pretty good too. And then if you look at the qualified to learn part, where you can see where you can deploy him and where you can train him up, you've got left field, center field, right field, shortstop, first base. So this DJ LeMahieu card is a live card. It's a diamond. So I don't know what the L70. Here it is. Look at that. Look at the quality of life here. Last 10 sales average. Incredible. 49.15. That's an incredibly low amount of perfect points needed for such a versatile card that, oh, by the way, OPS 906 for me, playing every other day. So I highly recommend the DJ LeMahieu's out there, and we'll check out what we see in global observed performance for him. And then over at first base, I've got Nomar. You know, it's kind of an odd fit, given that he's got a really nice shortstop defensive profile with the really high infield range, pretty decent arm, pretty decent turn double play. But it's just a matter of how the pieces fit together. You know, Trammell can't move over to first. Nomar can. And so Nomar will. And Nomar went ahead and led my league in batting average at 366. Popped in 59 doubles. Holy cow, Nomar. 126 ribbies, 211 hits. So absolutely incredible season for Nomar Garciaparra. And then behind the plate, now this is where maybe I made a misstep. We'll see. I went with Austin Hedges, a live card. And Austin Hedges is not there because he's going to hit. In fact, he's not going to hit at all. Even with a rookie league surrounding him here, he was terrible with the bat. 204, 271, 347. But the reason I have him out there is for catcher ability. And so how does catcher ability play to team success? Well, catcher ability is going to help your pitchers steal some strikes. Higher catcher ability is going to correlate to lower catcher ERA, correlate to lower runs allowed for your team. And so Hedges was in my lineup all week. He was not helping me juice perfect point generation, but he was helping me and my pitchers get outs. So it might make some more sense in just a second once we look at my rotation. Because catcher ability is more valuable for higher stuff pitchers who are going for more of those strikeouts, lower control, who are trying to avoid those walks. And that's exactly how I built my staff. So my staff here, if I go ahead and sort it by pitching ratings, you will see that I went crazy on stuff this week. Gio Gonzalez, my lowest stuff pitcher, and he's at 95. Big Red Fury asking what his catcher ERA is. Let's check that before we move to the pitchers. Fielding stats. Catcher ERA of 3.12. Let's check Campanella's because he's on my team as well. Fielding stats 3.07. So Campy in 71 games actually slightly outperformed him. But I would not suggest that is a sustainable relationship. All right, getting back to the pitching. So, yeah, you see I went crazy stuff. And the reason I did so is I was trying to max out strikeouts. Earlier on in the week, before I pulled Rosen, before I put some of the pieces in place, I had a really rough defense. And so I was trying to strike my way out around that as opposed to having pitchers that put the ball in play. Moving into next week, perhaps it's time to start to shift because I've got a pretty decent defense coming together now forming around the team. And Cy Young as my ace of the rotation. Cy Young with actually some incredible perfect point generation as well because he took down the pitching triple crown, most pitching wins, pitcher of the month, ERA crown, pitcher of the year. All told, 13,000 perfect points generated by your Cy Young here. One of the, or if not the best pitcher card within the game right now. And he had a season telling you just what he's capable of. Look at that, 264 innings pitched, 306 strikeouts, only 0.8 walks per nine. Just absolutely incredible. If you don't have a Cy Young, I would start getting to work on those live missions because having one is going to be a game changer. Put him at the top of your rotation, and you are on your way. Trail Guide Steve asking, what's the biggest sacrifice you'd make for a catcher when talking about sacrificing hitting for defense? So I don't know if I fully understand the context of the question there, but I guess I would say that catcher is the one position where I'm most willing to accept an absolutely terrible terrible bat in favor of a glove because of the force multiplier effect it has for your rotation. And so even though Hedges didn't hit at all, that's kind of similar to how face of the franchise Ivan Rodriguez was in PT21, where he wasn't hitting at all, but by the end of the cycle, many top-end teams were choosing to have him over a better bat in Joe Mauer or a better bat in Roy Campanella because of the observed impact it had on run prevention for teams. Zenith Television confirming that Ginger Beaumont was incredible for him as well. All right, back to the rest of the staff here. So Verlander and Langston. So as you see here, I'm basically building a staff with the rewards you get for the live collection. So definitely strongly recommend getting to work on those live collection missions. By the time you're done, you've got a ton of pieces that are going to serve you well going forward. Verlander and Langston being two of them. You see Verlander here is my number 2 in the rotation. He put up an ungodly amount of innings as well at 238 with a 3.32 ERA. Langston even better, going 24-3, an ERA under 3 for him. And then I closed out my rotation with a couple of live perfect cards. And one of these I didn't even pull. I went ahead and bought it. I think it was Giolito. And the reason I wanted Giolito is just for that stuff. Just extremely high stuff for a starting pitcher that can help you shield a pretty bad defensive team like I had going into this season. Yeah, Noragar, this team is really night and day from what I started the week with. So Al Rosen was a pull that I got. Many of these other pieces have come together over the course of this week. At the beginning of this week, I believe I had Giancarlo Stanton playing third base. It was basically a bunch of live cards with a bunch of power, just trying to mask what was some horrible defense out there. But with some luck and with some targeted purchases like the Ginger Beaumont and the Lefty O'Doul, I've started to add some respectability to the team here. And then in looking at the bullpen here, I didn't spend a ton of time thinking about the roles. So more or less just kind of rolled them out there. Bill Risley is one card that I would take a look at if I were you guys. It's a low gold, but it's got just an unbelievable amount of stuff. So at this point in the game, he's likely able to just strike his way around his movement vulnerability and control vulnerability. And I definitely was very happy with the performance I got from him in just 21 short innings. But 11.4 K per 9. All right, so this was your Naperville Nomads championship winning team. But as you see on the right side of your screen, I definitely didn't have the high watermark of all the leagues that I have data for. The St. Angelo Warbirds actually came in with 148 wins. But definitely a good start to the week. So now let's look at some global player data. Let's start with looking at our leaders. So hopefully you guys can see that. Hopefully that writing is not too small for you. If it is, I'll go ahead and narrate it for you. So what I'm going to do is for the leagues that I have data for, and I think I've got 5 or 6 leagues extracted now. And if you guys were interested in having your leagues on future versions of this stream, DM me afterward, and I can give you the extract that I would need, the columns and the order with which I need them to be able to incorporate them into future streams. But I'd be more than happy to get your guys' data in here as well. Dishnet asking, is the list on the right just looking at rookie league teams? No, this has some iron. It's got some rookie. So this was basically whoever I could convince to spend 15 minutes to set up my data extract. I put their league in here. And if I didn't have the league, then it's not in here. And that's why Tech, I don't have Ottawa's 143 wins. But if you want to get it in here, then DM me and I'll share with you the poll that I need. And we can go ahead and grow our sample sizes here and have more documentation of some of the success you guys put together. All right, so first things first, let's look at our high water mark on runs. So we have Maine Whiskey Tango popping 167 runs for their Jimmy Collins. Just an absurd amount. Followed shortly thereafter with the Somerset Dolphins and his Enos Slaughter. Not to be outdone by Maine Whiskey with another submission here. Chick Hafey comes in third at 154. So the reason you see such absurd numbers here that are such outliers to what we were seeing at the tail end of PT21 is because we don't have ubiquitous league quality at this point in time. Towards the end of PT21, within the perfect league, you had every team just about at the same caliber level. Well, here you have some teams in rookie, some teams in iron that really aren't all that built yet. And so when you get an Enos Slaughter in there, surrounded by some good hitters, you can put up some cartoony type production numbers. All right, so that is our runs leader. So we got Jimmy Collins from Maine, Enos Slaughter from Somerset, and Chick Hafey from Maine as well. Let's move on to home runs. Let's resort it and see what our high water mark is. 52. So Jimmy Collins, who led in home runs, in runs, is also leading in homers. And look at this. This is a clean sweep for Maine Whiskey Tango. 52 homers for Collins, 49 for Hack Wilson, and then 46 for Chick Hafey, taking the top 3 on this one. Let's see if we have a Naperville Nomad anywhere here. Nomar Garcia-Parra peeking through with 33 down here. I should have Cargo in here somewhere. Cargo had a real big season for me. I'm not seeing him right now. Oh, here he is. 41 for Carlos Gonzalez. A card that definitely outperformed his Becca card ratings. Quiz Kid, thanks for letting me get one win in our semifinal. Hey, man, you earned it. You earned it. All right, we move on from home runs, and we go to RBI. I'm going to guess that Maine Whiskey Tango is going to be right on top of this one, too. Let's see. And look at that. Maine Whiskey Tango's Chick Hafey and Jimmy Collins right there. Jimmy Collins almost takes a triple crown from all the leagues that I have with the level of dominance there. Third place comes in with Ripper Collins from the Somerset Dolphins. And his Chick Hafey right behind there. So Chick Hafey, a name that we're seeing on the top of a lot of these lists, maybe one that you guys should be checking out in the old auction house. I'm not sure what the L7 is. Let's see if one's up right now. Chick Hafey up for 57 with an L7 of 47. Card putting up some big, big numbers. Looks like a corner outfielder for sure. You can play him in center, but not recommended with that outfield range. All right, we move on from RBIs. Let's go to stolen bases. One of the things I love to track because early on you have an opportunity to see some really big stolen base seasons. And we do see a couple big ones here. We've got the Beaver Lodge Royals producing 116 steals out of their Diamond Maury Wills. 110 steals coming out of a gold. Red Murray. I don't even know this card. Let's see if one's up. I'm curious to see what it looks like. Here it is, a Red Murray. It's got a bid on it. And you see a 106 steal rating from this Red Murray. With 97 speed, that's definitely a combination that's going to give you a ton of production on the base paths. And then we have Ned Hanlon, a whale card, closing it out here with 107 steals. Let's see what the base running profile on Ned looks like. So Ned's got an L7, an L10, I should say, of 347, and a 104 stealing, 93 on the speed. So that Red Murray might be a sneaky good card to pick up for some stolen base-oriented perfect points. He's not going to be the greatest hitter in the world. You see a very low contact score. The avoid Ks is okay, so you're going to be making a lot of contact. It's not going to be the best contact in the world. The BABIP's not going to be off the charts by any means. Decent eye, though, and then some pretty good gap power, which is going to convert a lot of those singles into doubles. A card with some pretty good defense, too. Someone you can stick in right field. So Red Murray, an interesting card to take a peek at there. Ochoa had Red Murray with 53 steals and 61 attempts. Good stuff. All right, we move on. Let's check WAR. So wins above replacement. Let's see if Maine Whiskey Tango takes this one as well. No. Oh my goodness, guys. Look at the top three here. It's all Alan Trammell. So 10.9 for San Angelo Warbirds, Alan Trammell. 10.8 for the Delco Hoagie Mouse, Alan Trammell. And then 9.7 for your Naperville Nomads, Alan Trammell. So something tells me that you're going to want to hang on to Alan Trammell, at least for a little while, as a live SE reward, as he is dotting himself all over this leaderboard. You see him at 1, 2, 3. You see him again right here. So people getting a lot of production out of Alan Trammell here in the early going. Jay Modenhall asking about Eberfield. Yeah, we'll check out specific players once we get off of the high water marks. All right, let's check batting average. Who's the batting average champ in the leagues that I've been able to pull from? Look at that. Dalton Jeffries, 1 plate appearance, 1 hit. Let's go ahead and put a filter on here. Let's say, so what is Major League Baseball? 3.1 plate appearances per game. And there's 162 games. So some quick math there. What is that, about 480 plate appearances? We'll go with 480. And by doing so, look at that. Look who wins our batting average title. It's 80 Kevin Seitzer. What in the world? Special edition 80 Kevin Seitzer with an off-the-charts 378. Thanks for the chat helping me out there. 502. my estimation skills not up to snuff here. So Kevin Seitzer, who knew?
Attention, it's meta.
We'll pop a meta for him. 378. Now, I would caution you. I don't think that this profile is going to continue to produce like that. I would call what we've seen this season an outlier. 487 plate appearances with 378 on the average. That would shock me if it were to continue, but still notable nonetheless. And look at that, another Twitch drop. This is incredible. We've got a bunch of Nomar. So the Naperville Nomar is up here. There you go. 366 on my Naperville Nomar. You have Maine Whiskey Tango and Beaver Lodge getting very similar results there at 367. Look at this. We have a bronze Luis Arias putting up a 364. And now I can tell you firsthand that Luis Arias is absolutely a meta card within bronze tournaments. And seeing main league production out of him tells you that if you're on a budget and you want to get some production out of your bat, he's a live card. There we go. There's not even a Luis Arias up on the auction house. But go ahead and keep spamming one. If you want a really cheap option for someone who can hold their own in main league play still at this point, Luis Arias is absolutely not a bad choice for you. All right, we move on from batting average to on-base percentage. I'm curious if we have someone break over 500. Let's see. No, but we've got Hack Wilson. Your kidney's favorite card. We've got 99 Hack Wilson popping a 462 on-base percentage for the... Man, how in the world do you even pronounce this one? Kairbanog Killer Rabbits. A 462 on base percentage. You have the St. Angelo Warbirds Trammell coming in right behind him with 461. And then another Hack Wilson with the Somerset Dolphins. And then another Hack Wilson with the St. Angelo Warbirds. And then another Hack Wilson. Then another Hack Wilson. And so Hack Wilson definitely proving to be a significant asset with on-base skills as you see him all over this leaderboard. One thing that is a little surprising is Jim Edmond's inclusion here. I'm guessing there's not an Edmonds up right now. But if there was, I'd be curious to see the profile because I wouldn't expect super high on-base percentages from him. Fancy Skunk Seitzer / 361, 426, 568 as a Stone DH. This is some really big numbers from Seitzer. Incredible. All right, we move on from on-base percentage to slugging. Let's see if anyone can sneak into 700 territory. We do. We have one. Jimmy Collins, who nearly won the Triple Crown of all the leagues that I have data for, came up with a 717 slugging percentage for Maine Whiskey Tango. Let's see if there's a Jimmy Collins up for us to take a look at. The answer is no. But absolutely gigantic production season. So the triple slash for Jimmy for this Maine Whiskey Tango is 345, 395, 717. And then right behind him for our slugging leaders is a couple of Hack Wilsons, a Chick Hafey, a Nomar, another Hack. So some really big cards. Some cards to be on the lookout for sure. And you see Hack Wilson all over this. So we will do OPS now. And this will be the final one that we look at individual card versions. And look at OPS. Look who's number 1, 2, and 3. It's Hack Wilson. Hack Wilson belonging to the Warbirds, the Tango, and then the Killer Rabbits. And the first non-Hack Wilson is that Jimmy Collins card we were talking about a moment ago. So Jimmy Collins, a high average card that doesn't walk a ton, but absolutely slugs a ton. Yeah, Dynamic, I did not pull any entry pool cards or entry pool stats for this. This is only main league play. Yeah, and if anyone wants their stats in, just DM me, and I can give you the extract, and we can go ahead and upload your data into this, and we can do that for weeks going forward. I would just need it with at least a couple hours to spare on a given Sunday so I can upload it all. But you can see your name up in lights just like we have the Warbirds Hack Wilson right here. All right, so those are our league leaders from the data that we have. Now let's move on to total observed performance. So we'll start with hitters. And then we'll go position by position and talk about who is showing best with the bat. And so I have these lists sorted by bat R, which is a statistic called batting runs, which tries to quantify how many runs above average per 600 plate appearances this bat is versus the league. So to contextualize this, you have Paul Laduka at the top of this. 22 batting runs is his metric. Now, batting runs can go negative. They can go wildly negative, and they do. And so just keep that context into mind as we're talking about it. And let's look at this catching position. So Paul Laduka at the very top of the list here, right-handed batter who absolutely mashed this week, hitting a 319 on the average, 373 on the OBP. Now, I actually picked up a Paul Laduka for next week because look at this hitting profile. This looks like something straight out of PT21. Now, we spent a ton of time talking about catcher defense and catcher ability at the top of this stream. This could be some fool's gold here because he does not have great catcher ability. He does not have great catcher arm. So he's not going to help your pitchers steal that strike. He's not going to help your pitchers avoid those walks, but he is going to hit a lot. So at the end of the day, you need to make the decision about what's most important to you. Now, if you had the opportunity to, Charles Johnson, at least through our data set here, is giving you both. So Charles Johnson, L10 of 53. Has at least so far a really strong observed performance with the bat. Given the profile here, I don't expect that to continue. But so far, we have a 21 bat R score on him. Charles Johnson, incredible catcher ability. So 104 on the catcher ability, better than the Austin Hedges that I talked about. See, what am I missing over in the chat here? Let's see. Do I think emphasis on movement over control this year de-emphasizes catcher ability? I think we're a long way from being able to definitively say yes or no to that argument. However, if we have a significant shift back towards those low stuff, high movement pitchers, then I could absolutely see it playing out that way. I could see it playing out where a catcher's bat is good enough where it convinces you to use him in high-level play, in perfect league play, over another catcher who's more glove-oriented, but who's an absolute zero with the bat. I think that we're a long way from determining that. And again, I just want to caution, take all of these stats with a grain of salt because we have a very quickly evolving meta and a meta that hasn't even really started to take shape yet. So it's hard to, in a vacuum, especially with some of these sample sizes here, under 1,000 plate appearances, it's hard to look at anything and say, okay, this is for sure that, or this is definitely not that. So, we're looking at data, we're looking at what's available to us, but there's a ton more work to do. There's a ton more understanding and observations to take place before we're able to definitively make any broad assertions. All right, so as we split this up, with catcher, you need to run a platoon effectively. You need to run two because, especially with PT22 showing some increased or enhanced fatigue, you're going to be playing both of your catchers very frequently, both of them within the same week, every time without fail. So we've got BJ Surhoff as a left-handed option, Jorge Posada as a switch hitting option, giving you the ability to go lefty. Let's go ahead and toggle to our versus right split to see how they're performing. And as we toggle, we see Paul Laduka actually stays at the top. So even though Laduka's right-handed, he was our best performing catcher versus right-hand pitching. I think Surhoff might have fallen off due to sample size, so that could be the reason. But interesting and impressive that Laduka stays at the top of the list. As we toggle to versus left, We've got Campanella jumping to the top, but it looks like we've lost the sample size for Laduka, so he's fallen off the list. All right, so that's catcher. So basically we're looking at Laduka as your top bat option, Charles Johnson as your top glove option. Both of those more higher end cards, so you could go cheaper with, say, an Austin Hedges, not get anything with the bat. Let's see where he is down here. Where's my Austin Hedges? With a font this big, it's shocking I can't find it. There we go. Austin Hedges. So 1,500 plate appearances. You see the bat R down at -31, but he is absolutely helping your pitchers. And for a staff like mine, where you have a ton of high stuff guys, that can go a long way. Fancy Skunk's got it. Row 60 at the bottom. You guys are the best. You guys are the best. All right, so that's catcher. We will move on now to first base. So who is our top first baseman in observed statistics? It's Ripper Collins, 1, and it's Nomar Garciaparra, 2. Let's see if we've got a Ripper up in the auction to be able to take a look at, and we do. We've got one up at 130, an L10 of 122, and a pretty interesting card there, power-heavy profile, switch hitter. And we see him putting up some really big numbers, over 1,900 plate appearances. So this is multiple copies of a Ripper Collins. However, with Nomar Garciaparra being so readily available and so productive as well, right behind Ripper here, it's hard to justify the premium there. Eddie Murray coming in behind Nomar. Otto Velez behind him. Jim Hickman. So some big bats there. A name that I've heard talked about a lot as a productive left-handed platoon first baseman is Kent Herbeck. You see him doing well here, batting .293, .368 on the OBP, .492 on the slug. So definitely some good numbers coming out of him as well. And then from a meta option, or from a plate appearance king option, you have Freddie Freeman leading the pace, or the pack there, with 4,000 plus plate appearances. Devil Dog asking me if I've got this on Google Docs. No, I'm an Excel or die kind of guy. I don't touch anything with Google Sheets. So this is not publicly available, but on Sunday nights, I give you guys a sneak peek, and I'm happy to answer questions as well. No Mark Grace says Ochoa. Let's see if we've got Grace in here. Is literally no one running Grace? No one's running Grace. What a disgrace. Let's quickly do the splits here before we move on. Versus right, we don't have much deviation in our order here. Ripper, Nomar, Alonso. We toggle over to versus left, and then we've got Nomar, Alonso, Olsen there. So nothing too shocking or surprising. Let's move on from first base to second base, a position that is still coming into shape. Ian Kinsler is a card that I actually pulled. I pulled that earlier this week and decided to sell it. Might have been a mistake, because Ian Kinsler is absolutely mashing right now. You see, we've got 654 plate appearances here of absolute dominant production with the bat, hitting .340. Slugging .551. You see the profile on your screen here. It is more of a whaley type card here. L10 of 210 on this one up in the auction house for .225. But you see that defense, incredible 101 range, incredible 102 turn double play, a little bit vulnerable on the infield error, which for a second baseman, they do get a pretty high volume of chances. So that will come into play at least some, but a card that is performing at the top end of the spectrum right now. Yes, Mr. World 86, I sold him. I pulled him, and at the time, my perfect point balance was nothing, and I decided that I could do more with the perfect points I could gather from selling him than putting him into the lineup. But we shall see if that proves to be a mistake in the long run. Dogberry fainting at the sight of 101 range at second base. Bid McPhee. This is a card that I haven't seen yet. Let's see if we've got a Bid McPhee to take a look at. We do not. But big-time production there. And you see he must have a strong eye as the 433 OBP, over 100 points over the average. And 581 on the slug. So big-time numbers from Bid McPhee. Bob Fisher, that's a card. That's a silver card. Look at this Bob Fisher. Showing strong. Let's see if we've got one of those in the auction house. We don't. Maybe I've got one in my collection that we can take a look at. Nope. Not so lucky. I've got a Derek Fisher. I don't have a Bob Fisher, but another card to be on the lookout for. Perhaps a better budget-friendly option. All right, we move on from second base to third base. And jumping to the top of the list here is Jimmy Collins. I think this is by virtue of not having enough sample size on Al Rosen. Let me lower this threshold a bit. It's at 600. I thought he was over that, but perhaps not. Perhaps some people aren't playing him at first, or excuse me, at third. Jimmy Collins at the top of this list. Jimmy Collins was someone that we saw absolutely dominate for Maine Whiskey Tango. Behind Jimmy Collins, you've got Garcia Parra, and then that Kevin Seitzer that absolutely went nuts this week. Let's look for some budget options here. Geraldo Perdomo, who's actually called up in real-life baseball to make his Major League debut. He is showing pretty strong here. We see he's a future legend card with an interesting balanced profile, offering some positional flexibility. Third base, shortstop, some stock defense at second that you could train up even further. We move on from third base to shortstop. And here's where you see Nomar and Trammell. So Nomar at the top of this list with 40 bat R, but we saw a lot of people moved him over to first base. Trammell right behind him with our highest plate appearance quantity, almost 7,000 plate appearances of incredible production. So a couple of big-time options there with Geraldo Perdomo showing up as third on this list as well. Another future legend, Tyler Freeman, showing up here. This is a silver card. Let's see if we can get a glimpse of one of these. Gap power and avoid K. Heavy profile here. That's definitely an interesting card. What's Xander's WAR? Let's slide over and see if I've got WAR on here. I'm guessing I do. 2.35 WAR per 600 for Xander Bogaerts live. All right, so those are our shortstops. Let's go to the outfield. And we will start with left field. And we see Hack Wilson at the top of the sugar pile here with Chick Hafey right on his tail. Both of them right-handed bats, both of them with some big-time production here. Looks like Hack heavier on the OBP in part of his profile. Chick Hafey higher on the average and slug. And then look at my man right here. Lefty O'Doul was a guy that I talked about in my lineup. And he is absolutely doing well in total numbers. Let's see if we go versus right if he's too small in sample size. No. Versus right only, we see Lefty O'Doul number 4. So 317, 392, 566. It's not the most expensive card in the world. We see an L10 of 53K, but a profile right here that is absolutely going to hit right-hand pitching. So one that if you're not able to find another option out there, and I guess with Slaughter and Wilson, perhaps you can fill your corner outfield if you're not going to put either one of them in center. But Lefty O'Doul, an interesting option as an alternative. Let's go on over to center field. Center field, this is where Jim Edmonds comes to play. 58 bat R now, 624 plate appearances tell me this could just be a sample size of 1. And so we're going to need to see a lot more data. But Jim Edmonds, a glove-heavy profile, putting up some insane numbers with the bat. Behind him, we have Ronald Acuna, a live card, showing with some really big-time production here. 308, 412, 568. Lenny Dykstra down here, 90 SE. We see him producing well as well. Strong average of 306, good OBP. You see a lot of plate appearances here, 4,400 plus. Let's see who's got higher WAR, Hack Wilson or Dykstra. So Dykstra at 558, Hack Wilson at 503. So WAR, again, a rough approximation for total value, combining the bat and the glove. The bat is hands down in favor of Hack Wilson, but once you incorporate the glove, looks like Lenny Dykstra has him. Kate is asking about John McGraw. Nope, don't have a John McGraw in this data set. Text saying that Edmonds is this year's Ken Griffey Jr. For anyone who didn't play PT21, Ken Griffey Jr. was an absolutely elite glove who, as a left-handed batter, really could only offer over-the-fence power, but was a low average, low OBP slugger that you definitely wanted to platoon. Let's see, Ginger Beaumont. Do we not have a Ginger? I know that I played him all year, but I guess I didn't get him over the 600 plate appearances threshold that I need. Yeah, I only had him at 480. But here's the Ginger Beaumont that I've got. 300, 381, 483. And again, that's a profile that I love the shape of. Great avoid Ks, good strong contact, solid eye. So Ginger Beaumont, a card that I can definitely endorse. The 70 range is on the lower end. Come September, Ginger Beaumont's not going to be playing center field in high levels. That's a given, that's for sure. But for today, Ginger Beaumont, a great option for either DH or center field. We move from center field to right field. And in right field, we see a ton of Enos Slaughter and a ton of great production as well. So 37 bat R from him, 7,000 plate appearances of 320, 413, 537. Behind him, we have a live card, live George Springer. Moises Alou, another SE. Right behind him, strong versus left profile. As we go versus left, you see Moises Alou profile really take off some. Go up to 26 on the bat R. One thing that I can do as well, if you are a budget player and you're looking for budget options, we can slice this by tier level. So if we want to just look at bronze cards in main league play, we can do that. If we just want to look at silver cards, we can do that. All right, so that is all of the positions. And so let's zoom out and let's look at all the hitters, because now we need to decide on DH. And when doing so, we see Al Rosen pop to the top of the list. We see Jim Edmonds, Jimmy Collins, Bid McPhee, a lot of the names that we've talked about. So if you're just looking for, who's going to produce the most with the bat, this would be the list that you're looking towards right here. In terms of cards that are non-diamonds, non-perfect cards, you've got that Seitzer card, which we talked about, Otto Velez down here, Jim Hickman, Earl Torgeson. I'm curious where the Arias is. Why is he not showing up right now? Or am I blind? Arias shows with 323, so a little light on the slug for the profile. And given that the average for the league is what it is, only 3 on the bat are there, but definitely holding his own, 314 average. Devil Dog asking for top batter per level. Let's do it. All right, so here are your perfect batters. I'll call out the top 3. So Al Rosen, Jim Edmonds, Jimmy Collins. Then from here, we'll drop down to Diamond. And in so doing, we find Chick Hafey, Hack Wilson, Ripper Collins. And then dropping down to gold. And I'm pausing a bit here so you guys can screen cap or make some mental notes. Dropping down to gold, we've got Seitzer. That Seitzer that we saw pop. Otto Velez, Jim Hickman. And when you see these abbreviations here, I know it's easy to look at these cards and think, oh, Otto Velez, shortstop, Jim Hickman, shortstop. No, that stands for snapshot. That's the type of card it is. Just like Kevin Seitzer is a special edition, just like Bunk Congleton is a one-hit wonder. All right, we move from gold to silver. Top of the silver, we have Kevin McReynolds, Bob Fisher, Kurt Bleffery, that Tyler Freeman future legend that we saw. Polycarp, I don't think I had a Bob Carruthers. I don't think I had enough Carruthers in my sample. I'll go back to Diamond here once we finish out this journey through the tiers. Bronze cards. Our top bronze card was George Jackson, one-hit wonder. I'm curious to see what a George Jackson looks like. That is not a name I've heard in bronze tournaments. It is not a name that is showing up in the auction house. Rich McKinney. Let's see if we can find him. Rich McKinney, one-hit wonder, also missing. Nippy Jones, Eddie Foster, Tommy LaStella. We move from bronze. We go down to iron. We have 2 iron cards who were hitting above league average. Raimel Tapia and Willie Calhoun. There has to be a Raimel Tapia up. What is going... I've got a min value problem there. There's Raimel. Contact profile. So these are your hitters. We're going to hustle a little bit as we move on to pitchers, because I'm trying to get out of here by 7:30 to get Dishnet on. Spreadsheet choking a bit here. Yeah, so Sox fan asking my Discord username. It's DRC Nomads, I think. I mean, it's got to be. DRC Nomads, yep. User settings. I think there's a number normally associated with it. There we go. DRC Nomads 9500. That is how you reach me on Discord. JZ13 calling me out for hunting bronze lives. It's a fact. All right, let's talk pitching. Let us talk some pitching. All right, we will start with starters, and we will start with right-handed starters. And so my minimum threshold on these is 200 innings pitched. And so what you're seeing right now are the top right-handed starting pitchers in observed statistics. And at the top of the list, we have Candy Cummings, which I believe Candy Cummings is a tourney special edition card. I'm not 100% sure on that. No, it looks like it's packable. And so here's your Candy Cummings that's at the top of the list. There's 4 up in the auction house right now. The L10 is 270, so not a cheap card by any stretch here. But in 258 innings, actually outperformed the Cy Young SE. Cavicom asking if I can filter by flyball profile. I don't know if that's in my data, but it's a good point. I should get that in my data. So I can't do that today, but I can do it next week. So Candy Cummings first, Roy Oswalt second. Let's see if we've got a Roy up on the auction house. We've got one Roy up there. L10, a 177, listed in the auction house for 230. You see he's got a pretty balanced profile there. Some slight splits there, traditional splits, as the stuff and the movement go down versus left. But some pretty strong performance from Roy Oswalt in 238 innings. But the most impressive thing to me is this Cy Young performance. So 2,000 innings, which makes this number mean a whole lot more than the 2 numbers above it, of 2.4 ERA, a whip under 1, K per 9 over 9. Very impressive, but look who's sneaking out Right below Cy Young, it's Dixie Walker, a card that I literally know nothing about. And there are none in the auction house for me to take a peek at. I wonder how sustainable this is. Look at this K per 9. How on earth do you have a 2.53 ERA when you are striking out literally no one? Is he a knuckleballer or something? Yeah, that Dixie Walker card's interesting. Let me see if I've got one in the reserves. Nope, not so lucky. GT Sundown asking about legend Logan Gilbert. Is he a righty or a lefty? I think he's a righty. Let's see if we can search him. Logan Webb? No Logan Gilbert. Fancy Skunk sharing the ratings on Dixie Walker. 45 on the stuff, 84 on the movement, 64 on the control. Interesting stuff. Ochoa, teaching me something. I can use this search bar up here to see if a player's in my league. Tariq Skubal. We'll check him out when we go to lefties. So let's move on over to lefty starting pitchers. And look at that. Look who's at the top here. It's Al Brazel. A relief card, if I recall correctly. Al Brazel at 288 on the ERA and 400 innings pitched. 1.21 on the whip, 8.7 on the K9. Right behind him, we have a bigger sample size of Mark Langston. I'm kind of surprised to see the inning count so low for Langston when it was so high for Cy Young. Seems like a bunch of people either sold off their Langston or just decided not to use it as a starter. Only 800 innings there, but 800 good ones. Jim St. Vrain, not a card I'm familiar with. Let's see if we've got one up. We do. It's a Cub, a Chicago Cub, and look at that. Only 30K in the auction house on an L10 of 20K. It's a high stuff, not high stuff, I'd say okay stuff, high movement, low control ground baller. Throws left-handed. And he had a pretty solid 216 inning pitch sample. Oh, wait, that's not a Cub. That's a White Sox. Why does it say CHC? Played for the Chicago Orphans. Interesting stuff. So there's our lefty starters. So let's see if we've got Tariq Skubal here. By request, would help if I spelled it correctly. And we don't have enough innings of Tariq Skubal to talk about it. Ethan Small. Let's see if we've got him. No Ethan Small. Yeah, we should get this logo changed to the Cubs, or changed to the Orphans, or changed to something. Anything but that White Sox. All right, let's go relievers. We'll start with left-handed relievers. I'll leave the filter where it is, 200 innings pitched. This is going to keep our sample size small here, but for the people that we will have, we'll have some pretty high quantities. And look at Brad Hand. Brad Hand with a very solid 260 innings pitched sample. Let's see what profile's working for him. So as you can see from the card art in front of you, we've got a very high stuff versus left-hand batter profile here. So definitely someone you want facing lefties and only facing lefties. But when deployed that way, being very, very effective so far. And when he gets faced up against a right-handed batter, he's got some pretty high stuff to try to strike his way out through it at 98. So interesting budget bullpen option for you, Brad Hand live. Check it out. Josh Hader right behind him. I've got Hader in my bullpen. Was very happy with him. Globally, we've got 200 innings pitched of a 2.8 ERA. Chris Sale, SE, I don't have. Billy Pierce, I don't have. So definitely need some more data here. Tanner Scott live, another one that working well. Let's see if we can take a peek at Tanner Scott. How is there not a Tanner Scott up right now? Those Baltimore Orioles lives can come and go. There we go. So he's an even higher stuff profile, very strong movement, low control. The low control is why you see his whip so significantly higher than Brad Hand's. AJ Minter, Aroldis Chapman. Let's move on to right-handed relievers. Top of the list, we've got a live card. It's Alex Colomé. Let's see what Alex Colomé looks like. Alex Colomé, whose live card is a higher value than his all-star card. And with Colomé, you've got an interesting profile here that's kind of just ho-hum. Average stuff, average movement, average control. Not quite sure why it was so effective in the sample size that we have here. Scott Ellerton right behind him. A 70 card. Let's see if we can get a peek on a Scott Ellerton. Here we go. So Ellerton is a low silver, but for low silver, very high stuff, good movement. Only questionable on the control and extreme fly ball pitcher. It's interesting that just about all of these cards are live cards. All right, so let's zoom out. We'll go righties and lefties, and then we'll do what we did before. And actually, I guess I don't have that set up on my pitcher side. We'll save that for next week then. Go tier by tier and see the best card. But here's your overall best pitchers. Trevor Hoffman at the very top of the list with his 94 SE, 204 ERA. Ocho is correct. People holding off on investing in the bullpen. Candy Cummings, 2. Diego Castillo, 3. Roy Oswalt, Cy Young. Yeah, Nick Waddick, good point. We can definitely have more data, especially if you guys want to get involved and start helping me crowdsource some of it. We can have a lot more leagues represented and get your guys' names up in lights for when you have a player have a significant outlier season. All right, so that is your observed player performance for 2021. Any final questions in the chat? Is Heath Bell anywhere in there? Let's see if we've got a Heath Bell. No, we don't have 200 innings of Heath Bell. Eleanor Frisbee asking what league this is. This is gathered across multiple leagues. So it's not just rookie, it's not just iron. And ideally, we would have a nice cross-section of all tiers and all levels. Given that it's the first week of play, I don't think there's going to be huge disparity from league to league. But as the weeks go forward, we'll definitely start to see that disparity grow. Yeah, Mr. Devil Dog, I don't have a slicer built for that right now. Let me see if I could build that in 2 seconds. It's hard when I have it pinched like this because then I can't see what I normally see. Insert. Slicer tier. All right, I think we're going to be able to do it. All right, so let's start with perfect cards. Candy Cummings, Oswalt, Cy Young. We move on to Diamond. Trevor Hoffman, Diego Castillo live, Liam Hendricks live, Mark Langston, Steve Rogers. We move on to Gold. Dixie Walker, Irv Young. I heard someone talking about this Irv Young. There he is. Irv Young, a high movement extraordinaire ground baller. 93 on the movement versus left. 86 versus right. We see him showing very well here. Risley Iglesias, Alex Colome. We move on to silver. Here's where that Scott Ellerton pops to the top of the list, but right behind him, we have Tony Gonsolin, Sean Manaea, Leo Keeley, David Hale. And then from silver, we move to my tournament grounds bronze. Taylor Williams live. Tom Borland, Felix DeBron. It's funny that the cards performing best in main league play are not played in bronze tournaments. You'd have to go all the way down to Don Gross to find a tournament card that is used pretty widely. We move from bronze to iron, and our best iron performers are Red Evans, Skip Pitlock, Taylor Widener, Dick Starr, and Adam Simber. So I think someone asked how to get involved, and just DM me on the Discord. DM me on the Discord, and I can share with you the steps needed to be involved here. It's not too complicated. I would just need you to run certain extracts of your league data with the exact identical columns that I need to be able to incorporate it and have it fit in uniformly with the rest of the data. And it takes about 15 minutes to set up start to finish. But if you're willing to do that and able to do it and get it perfect, then I can incorporate your data. All right, perfect. So let's cap off this stream by doing a perfect draft together. Who wants to do it? First, I'm going to pop into a bronze. I notice I've got an open bronze slot. Can't let that stay open too long. How about we play... Let's do this one. It's only 8 people. 1 in 8 chance. All right. So what I meant to show you guys before I started was how horrible I have been at perfect draft so far. Horrible. I've played, I want to estimate, around 15, and I've cashed in 1. So you guys are going to help me win this one, and we're going to do it with the data at our back. So let's start drafting now. So here's our cards. We've got Will Clark, Burley Grimes, Dave Bancroft. What are we feeling? I don't have enough Will Clark data, but I know that people are big fans of his. Dave Bancroft doesn't appear to have enough data in here as well. Dan Brothers telling me Bancroft easily. Tech saying Bancroft. Yanks Pride going Grimes. Let's take a look at this Bancroft card. 110 on the range, 111 on the TDP. Yep. Let's start off with a shortstop so we don't have to worry about that later. All right, moving on. So one of the things that I like to do, and again, take everything I like to do with a grain of salt because I'm not winning, but I like to have defense in center and short and catcher. I like to have starting pitchers that are going to be better than my opponent's starting pitcher. All right, so in pursuit of that, we've got Wally Shang here. He's not a defensive catcher. I'll skip on that. Boog Powell, a nice defensive first baseman, but I'm not going to go first baseman, especially a bird profile one here in the second round. We've got a nice pitcher here in Gio Gonzalez. He's my closer on my main league team. I don't love a starting pitcher with such low control, so that's not all that inspiring. Jimmy Barrett, 87 range here, so a decent platoon center fielder. Not going to wow you with the bat or the glove, but a decent option in center field. Might be the best defensive center fielder I see the rest of the way. And then Riley Green is kind of a versatile corner outfielder who does pretty well against both sides. What's a Rosarena look like? A Rosarena, a versatile outfielder that can play left, center, and right. Definitely belongs more in a corner and is more of a short side platoon guy. So what do you guys think? We either go with a flawed starter, a defensive center fielder that might not be the best one that we see, a strong side platoon corner, or a short side platoon corner. Randy or Riley? Jimmy Barrett says Yuka, says Breedav. Quantum Condor says 100% Geo. I didn't realize how hard this would be. Hearing so many different voices in my head. Yeah. Tough call. I'm going to go Geo. When in doubt, I'll err on the strength of my starting rotation. Hoping that his 45 control doesn't rear its head in a 7-walk performance. All right, we move on. Mark Belanger. 94 Mark Belanger. Oh, no. We've already got our defensive shortstop. That's okay. I'm happy with Bancroft. Ned Garvin, very similar starting pitcher profile to Gio, so that's not all that appealing to back up there. Same thing with Bob Veal. Looking like we're going to have a low control rotation. Bullpen guy, I'm not going to take a bullpen guy this early, so that takes out Betances and Ozuna. Jeff Heath as a left field option. Kind of bad corner outfielder. And then Belanger, who can't play anywhere but short. I don't love our choices here, but I feel like going with pitching, starting pitching is the right answer. Let's see how splitty these guys are. So Garvin really only splitty on the stuff. Let's see about Veal. Veal kind of extremely splitty here. So let's go Ned Garvin, add to our rotation. Not loving the start of this draft. Let's hope we pick up the pace here as we move on. 15 minutes left on our draft countdown. All right, so we know that we still have a hole in center field. We still need a second baseman that we feel comfortable with. We still need a defensive catcher. I like getting into the silver rounds for catcher because oftentimes you can pull a live that gives you the defense that you're looking for. So I'm not too urgently seeking that, and we don't even have the option here. We've got the new Miggy card that J. Ronk put into the game, but he's a bad glove third baseman. Going to hit pretty well, but not someone that I'm dying to get my hands on. So I need to pick two of these guys. Let's see if there's a starter that we can feel good about. Look at this. Every starter we get is a low control profile. That one's not too inspiring. Here's that Brad Hand that we saw was blowing it up in main league play. So we go over to our Brad Hand, best reliever in main league play. Let's see if anything else is speaking to me here. Wouldn't be bad to get a reliever in the fold, especially a lefty that we feel good about. Man, nothing else here is really speaking to me. Bunch of bad glove options. So I'll go ahead and pick up a pen. Pen option in hand. Cal Eldred would be my first pitcher that doesn't walk everyone. I don't really love any of my other options here. Let's do it. When in doubt, get your rotation in order. So we've got 3 starters. Maybe none that I feel great about. All right, we move on. Mark Grace. How are we going to get through this round without drafting Mark Grace? You guys are going to need to coach me because I don't know if I'm able to do it. So Mark Grace is a platoon first baseman. kind of a luxury, so that would be the argument against going that route yet. O'Neal Cruz, interesting future legend, third baseman, better glove than previous options that we've seen so far. I know this card's interesting here. So Vidal could be our backup shortstop and our starting second baseman, giving pretty decent infield defense. That's not a bad fit. Ooh, D. Gordon. This could be fun. I don't like the speed being so much higher than the capability at stealing bases. I also don't like having Marlins on my teams. Now that Jay Ronk's in the chat. I think what we do is we go with Vidal Brujan and Mark Grace. And we lock up our first base and second base options. We have our backup shortstop, so we don't have to worry about Dave Bancroft's tired days. And we move on. Locking it in. Jay Ronk saying he wasn't on that 0-3 team. He didn't hurt me. I'll tell you the D. Gordon moment that stands out most in my mind. It's after Jose Fernandez passing, when he hit that home run. I don't think that any baseball fan will ever forget what a scene that was and how touching a display of emotion that was. And it really did feel, as cheesy as it might sound, like there were other forces at play in that moment, as D. Gordon, a guy who hits 3 homers a year, hit a homer in that spot. It was absolutely incredible. All right, what do we got to work with here? We've got an okay glove catcher. Nothing too inspiring there with Herrera. We still haven't got to the silver rounds yet. What do we see elsewhere? Dixie Walker, that's the high movement guy. And he was someone at the top of this list, wasn't he? Dixie Walker was shown as our 4th best starting pitcher. Now, if we get Dixie Walker, we can feel pretty darn good about our rotation. I think the data tells us we got to go Dixie. Got to do it. Now let's find a bat. Now we've already got Gracie at first. Chris Bryant. I don't love going live cards. He's also a pretty poor defender. Not much of a hitter. Don't really see the appeal in him as a gold. So what does that leave us? Is this a corner outfielder we can feel good about? That's a pretty decent fit. Look at that. We got great base running, a profile that's going to hit in this type of tournament, and then an okay corner defense. Vin Campbell's interesting. We don't have a corner outfielder yet, do we? Nope. So Vin Campbell and Dixie Walker feels right, unless something else pops out at me. So Jason Worth would definitely crush lefties. But I'm not filling up short-side platoons yet. Fancy Skunk, we've already got a second baseman. We've got Vidal Brujan playing second. Great Scott observing that I like starters. I'll say that this is atypical. I normally don't have 4 starters by the time I leave round 6. But looking like that might be the case here. Man, look at this Dan Murphy card. Oh, why do I have Mark Grace right now? Look at this Daniel Murphy card. Yeah, Thong Me pointing out that I do need a DH too. And this Dan Murphy card is absolutely going to wreck it. So I kind of like the idea of having Dan Murphy in this spot. Such a huge bat. Let's take him over Vin Campbell. We'll keep with Dixie Walker, get our 4th starter. But Dan Murphy is going to be perfect. He can, between Grace and Murphy, one of them can play first. So Grace is a 62 over there. Murphy's a 85. So we'll put Murphy at first. We'll have Gracie be our DH. And then if and when a middle infielder gets tired, let's say Bancroft gets tired first. We move Brujon over to short, Murphy to second, Gracie to first. We're just putting pieces in place. All right, time for some silver cards. Let's see what we've got here tonight. So as far as team needs, we still need a starting third baseman. We don't have a single outfielder. This is definitely not recommended. I don't see a glove center fielder we can feel good about. Actually, there's not a glove center fielder on your screen. So let's see if we can get an outfielder, period. Wally Post, short side platoon guy. Scott Van Slyke, I remember him. Another short side platoon guy, but comes with some positional eligibility. At a certain point, we're going to need to fill the outfield. Johnny Moore. What do you look like, Johnny Moore? So here's a left-handed batter who's an absolutely atrocious glove. And the bat doesn't really seem like it's going to pop off the page. Kind of backed ourselves into a corner here, haven't we? Maybe we do go short side platoon with Post. Even if he ends up having to start, that's not the worst outcome because we've got traditional splits guys or traditional platoon guys, strong side platoon guys so far. So maybe we go Post, and that gives us flexibility for if we find a right fielder or a left fielder. Cranepool. Cranepool does not play outfield. 6 minutes left. Thank you, Cavicom. So we only have one reliever. Not a bad idea to get some silver cards back there. So we're not putting the game in the hands of some really untrustworthy arms. I like this Barney Schultz card. Let's do it. Post and Schultz. All right, we finally got a center fielder. Oh, a couple of them. None of them looking all that defensively inclined. Let's see who's our best. Hugh Duffy. So Hugh Duffy's going to hit a little. He's not going to strike out. And when he does get on base, it'll go for extras frequently. So maybe Hugh Duffy is a bat first option. Laureano, more of a corner. Here's some decent range on Roger Repaz. Left-handed batter. We definitely have to get a center fielder here. No doubt. I think I go Hugh Duffy. Our whole staff is high stuff, low control. So if we can ever get rid of or get away with bad defense, it's this tournament. So we'll go Hugh Duffy and hope that his extra bat runs counterbalance him being a slightly worse defender than Repaz. Max Stacy, I think we got to go Stacy here. 75 catcher ability. No guarantee we get a better option than that, so we'll go ahead and lock that in. And we are now just missing a corner outfielder, a third baseman, a fifth starter, a second catcher, and then Penn arms. Whit Merrifield is a nice little option here. I like having cards with extreme flexibility like that. Let's see what else we got. So we didn't get any of my super defense catchers. So that's unfortunate. That's okay. We can work with that. Three minutes left. Cavicom watching my back. I appreciate that. We're still missing a third baseman. That's not a great option. Hinsky. This could be interesting. Really bad glove. Rich Rollins. Oh, I like this. I like this profile as an everyday third baseman. Is not going to kill you anywhere. It's not really going to help you a ton, but just kind of a meat and potatoes kind of option there. We'll go there, and then we'll also go Whit Merrifield and have him be the coverall He may end up starting in the outfield. He may end up being a bench guy, but either way, we've got the flexibility. All right, we move on into the Browns round. So still missing a starting right fielder, ideally. Missing a second catcher, missing a fifth starter. Brad can play right. Not much of a platoon bat. Jeffrey Hammonds, what do you look like, buddy? Kind of ho-hum. Decent base runner, though. 2 minutes left. We've still got a ton of rounds. All right, we're going to need to start making some quick-fire decisions. I think let's get our fifth starter before we run out of starters. Let's go ahead and get a right fielder so we can feel good about that, and we move on to the next round. Still need a backup catcher. Let's see if we've got any gloves here. Horrible, horrible. And this looks pretty decent. All right, we'll lock in Jonah Heim as our second catcher glove. And then I'd really like to get a decent bullpen arm, as we've left the bullpen pretty exposed here. How about we go with high stuff, Victor Zambrano? That fits the overall profile of the team that we have. Looks like Ginkel's in that same mode. 53-48. All right, we'll go Victor Zambrano. Moving on. Time to stuff that bullpen. Could use another lefty. Here's a high movement one. All right, we'll pick these guys as we're in rapid fire mode at this point. And then round 13, see if I've missed anything. We've got a backup shortstop. We've got our outfielders, but we're a little light. Whit Merrifield carrying some extra weight out there, so let's definitely pick one outfielder. With 30 seconds to go, let's get Hilliard. He's a good glove all over. I'd really love a pitcher that I don't hate being out there. That's pretty balanced and not too scary. That's not too bad. Julio Franco, short side platoon bat off the bench. And then we'll grab another pitcher. And that's the team. That's the team, guys. You built it. When it wins, I will post to the Discord, and thank you all. So this has been Practice Makes Perfect League. I appreciate all of the back and forth tonight. It's been fun to look at all of the numbers, and I look forward to doing this until we have a Perfect League World Series to broadcast again. Again, if you want to get involved, if you want your league's data to be included on what I show on Sunday nights, DM me. I will give you the instructions. There is some work to it, but it's not too heavy, and we'd love to have more data. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and wrap things up, and we'll hand things off to Dish, and you guys have a good night.